But here we go.
All right.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to this week's edition of Not Your Normal Healthpreneur. I am your not so normal host, Benita Amos, working to be a healthy gorilla. Not Your Normal Healthpreneur is a weekly show for health practitioners who are looking to start and grow their natural health business. The show aims to help these businesses increase their exposure and reach, to better help their clients and thus increase their income. Our intent is to connect like-minded health practitioners, to share knowledge and strategies, to inspire newbies and wannabes to accept the call to action, and to encourage collaboration and cooperation among all health practitioners as we continue to create the health modalities of choice for the future. We are keen to help health practitioners gain more clients, to grow their business, to acquire more tools to help more people, and in the process to give people education and insight into some of the natural modalities that are available out there and where they might turn to for help as an alternative to, say, settling for mediocre health or resorting to the standard invasive medical procedures that are the norm today, or the taking of pharmaceuticals with their potentially harmful side effects. Ultimately, we want to show how growing their business can work to create more income, so it's a win-win for everyone. So my guest this week is Chantal White. Chantal has a different business. She has combined her love of horses with her love of wanting to help people into something that's very unique, and I'm so excited to have her talk about it. Welcome, Chantal.
Thank you, Benita.
So tell us a little bit about your business, where you're at right now.
My business is Equine Reflection. I offer healing programs for individuals and groups of people with horses. So they get to be out with the horses while they're working through some of their, as you know, we talked earlier, caca, their stuff, that might be holding them back in life and having them feel like they're not good enough or less than other people and just really stuck. Yeah. So that's what the program's about, and the horses are so helpful in that. You got to have a little tiny taste the other day when you came out to Birch Bay. So yeah, it's a great business. I've been doing this since 2013 is when I got certified. And yeah, it's just amazing. It always shocks me what happens for people out with the horses.
Okay, so you said when you got certified, you're certified, yes. And tell us about your certification.
Okay. So I took a 2-year intensive, and that's kind of, I don't think there's a better term for it than intensive program. It's called Equine Gestalt coaching. Right. And it's through Touched by a Horse. And the lady who does that is Melissa Pierce. So she's got 30 years background in psychotherapy, as well as in the horse industry. And so she combined them both and started this method and teaches and trains it. So yeah, it's 2 years, and then we continue education and learn all kinds of ways to help people through trauma and some of the things that they've been through that's kind of changed their lives and changed them from showing up as their brilliant self. Right. And of course, in the midst of that, we get to heal our own. That's one of Melissa's big things that she makes sure happens in the program, because we don't want our stuff getting in the way when we're working with people. So we get to
right.
Work through our own as we go through the program.
Yeah. So I know, like you say, I had the pleasure of attending one of your sessions here just recently, which was a beautiful experience. But tell people, because I assumed I was going to go ride a horse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, a pretty common thing, horse ride, right? That's what most people think when they think of horses.
Yes.
I think, the world is changing and they're opening up. Like, there's a lot more equine assisted types of therapies out there. So people are getting a lot more open to the idea. But yeah, this isn't a riding program. It's really about exploring what's going on in the inside of you. And the horses help reflect that. They bring it out, and they show us in different ways how we might be able to let go of that and move forward in our life in a different way.
So how do the horses show us? How did they show us?
Good question, Vanita. I think it's different in every time. You know, right. I guess the best way to kind of share that is give an example. You know, so even actually the other day I was working with a young lady, and she was working on confidence versus insecurity. So, you know, she was feeling insecure and was really wanting to work towards confidence. And so kind of set up an experiment. So that's what Gestalt is all about, is experiential. And it's really about bringing wholeness or completion to life's unfinished business. So all that stuff that's going on inside that's kind of keeping us from moving forward. So I set up an experiment with her, and she was with a horse that I have named Ace. And of course, Ace's been working with me for a while, so he's kind of just tuned in and ready to go as soon as we get going. Like usually they're working before I can even get a chance to get in the pen. And so I had her just hold him with a rope, and I set a cone way off in the distance. I said, okay, that's your confidence, and that's what you're working towards. And so whenever you feel like you can shift the way you feel inside from insecure to confident, like think about your confidence moments, see if you can, you know, walk with Ace and walk towards that. And she tried and tried and tried, and Ace would not budge. He just would not move. And so I said to her, I said, well, what is it that you need to believe in order to move forward in confidence? Like, what is it that you need to believe in yourself? And she took a big sigh, and she says that I matter. You know, because it's interesting, you know, all those little underlying beliefs, right? So I said, okay, so that you matter. And so I asked her, you know, how she believed she mattered. And as soon as she said that, Ace started nodding his head, and he walked towards her, and he nodded his head. And every time I had her repeat the statement, I matter, he would nod his head. And so then I worked with her for a little while longer, and I just said, you know, she kind of, you could see in her physical body, she kind of sunk back into that I don't matter. Mm-hmm. And so I asked her, I said, well, you know, this is familiar for you. I've seen you smile and get bright and feel good, and then all of a sudden you just drop back. And she goes, well, yeah, that feels familiar, and I'm kind of scared to step into this, you know, this confidence. And I said, well, why? Well, because I'll be seen. And that's a very familiar thing with a lot of my clients, including myself. You know, it's hard to be seen sometimes, right? So I said, so what's going to happen if you don't change this habit? And she goes, well, I'll never move forward in my life. Mm-hmm. And so she kept trying to get Ace to move forward. And as soon as she said, I'll never move forward if I don't let this go, he walked with her a bit longer. Mm-hmm. And then she smiled again. And so we worked continuously through that until she was able to, you know, really realize what this was doing to her in her life. So that's a small example. So lots of times they'll stop us, they won't move with us, mm-hmm. but then they acknowledge when we get to that point of, hey, you know, this is the belief that I need to let go of in order to move forward in the direction that I want to in my life. Then they really acknowledge us in really powerful ways. Like, it's fun to watch a horse sit there and just like nodding its head like crazy when you're saying I matter, you know?
And so how is it that the horse knows this? How is it that you're communicating with this horse, right? Like, why am I not out walking a cow?
Well, good question. I haven't tried to work with the cows, so, you know, who knows? I mean, horses have partnered with us for centuries. And I really believe that they're here to help us in that way. And when they're seen as the healers that they are and recognized in that way, and they know that's what they're there for in that moment, that's how they show up. Like, they're like, oh, like, yeah, I get this. I know how to do this right away.
So I guess, and this is me in the analytical mind, so I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Maverick would be all over me for this, but
Yeah, Maverick would be all over for you. Get out of your head, girl.
but how is it that they know that they're there to work?
Well, it's an intuitive feeling, right? Yeah, when we talk about our own intuition, it's not a logical place or an analytical place that we go, right? It's an intuitive feeling place. They really resonate with how we feel more than what we think.
Right. Yes. And I
Yeah.
mean, a couple of things. So first of all, it's like, I know when we had this, when I was there for this session, you asked about horse experience and you asked me
Yeah.
from 1 to 5, and I rated myself as a 0 because
Right.
I've
Yeah.
seen horses in a field and I've played horses in graveyards. That's my horse experience prior to that.
Yeah.
And yet certainly I've had, like, I posted those pictures on Facebook and I had a number of people say, oh, you look so calm and relaxed in that picture.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, even having no horse experience, I had I wasn't feeling threatened or intimidated. Like there was no trepidation for me to take that rope and walk with Maverick.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks for saying that. I think when people witness horses in this way, they see them in a different way, right? And they see them. I mean, they're a big animal. I've had lots of clients show up in terror, but they still show up, which is amazing. And yet at the end, they're hugging the horse going, wow, so I think just like anything, there's a lot of misconceptions out there about, the danger. And obviously we have to be safe and careful and, respect them as a big animal. But when you see them and I guess get in relationship and partnership with them in this way, there is a comfort level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's almost like you guys are tuned into each other, right?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
and we spoke about this earlier. It's like, that when you're working with this horse, there is no judgment because there's no animals, right? They're not. And you're some messed up and
yeah. Yeah, it's all our own judgments, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all our own judgments. And sometimes they help us bring that out too, because people will often say, well, that horse is rejecting me. No, that horse is just showing you feel rejection, So yeah, they don't judge it. They just feel it. And they're like, this is what I'm witnessing within you. And they show up in different ways to kind of help you explore that and show you what's going on for yourself on the inside. Right. Yeah.
So in a group setting, because this was a group session that I was in, it's like, so when I'm walking the horse, how is it that the horse is not being interfered with in terms of other people's energy as well, right? Because you're in a group setting.
Good question again. I mean, I guess it's like they know who they're with, right? They know who they're there to work with. Like there has been times where, depending on the herd that I'm working with and the people I'm working with, like I might have 2 that are loose and they know intuitively who they're there to work with. Yeah. So you were with him and he knew he was there for you in that moment.
I have to say, I didn't know that.
No?
No. Because I was looking at all those horses going, I'm not really much of a horse person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do have to say there was definitely, certainly I slept well that night, but I also had what I want to call was not so much a dream as a download.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I have been thinking about doing is I'm working on giving talks locally.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I've done a couple. But the message I got that night was write your talks.
Yeah.
Write your talks. It wasn't like it, and I feel like, and I know somebody made a joke about, oh, Maverick emailed you. It's like, no, Maverick didn't email me. I feel like it was like, I mean, this was me telling myself, right?
Right.
But Maverick kind of made me get out of my own way and say, this is what you need to do, period. Full stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I've often had people say that the horses come to them in dreams afterwards, or when they're really struggling, they will call the horses to them for that support. Mm-hmm. So it's not uncommon for that to happen. Yeah, they're just here to support us. I told one lady one time, and I think to me it really powerfully says exactly what happens, because sometimes the horses aren't in a lead. Like in my private sessions, they don't have anything on them. They get to do what they want to do, right? But it is like lots of people are constantly looking for these tools or mechanisms to help them outside of themselves, yet it's really within that we need the answers from. And the horses help us tune into that. And it's almost like having a walking soul partner with us that's guiding us and saying, here, this is the way you need to go for your life, because they resonate with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're there to support it.
With no judgment, none.
Exactly, with no judgment. Like you said, when we sat down in the group, it was instant woof, everybody came real. Like it,
Yes.
Like the conversation that happened like instantaneously, you can't get that out in the real world. We're all so masked and guarded and trying to, not be judged and not be rejected and trying to fit in and all of that. And that just instantly goes away when you're with the horses.
Yes. Well, actually, that was the other thing that I really noticed about the whole session was just, and I've done a number of circles, in terms of emotional healing, but the immediate, I don't want to say connection, but almost soul bearing that these women were open to doing right from the start.
Yeah.
Because of the way you set it up, or with the horses there, or I don't know. All I know is that I've never seen women get so raw, so real, so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's powerful, isn't it?
Well, it is. And then when you're in that group, it's like with one person sharing, everybody's willing to share because you're already at that level. So I can only imagine, I mean, this was just a couple-hour session. I can only imagine what kind of healing you would get out of something that was like, say a retreat style or a longer course. I mean, I could see this being an extremely valuable tool for deep healing that you carried, for stuff that you carried for a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah. My favorite retreat that I run every year, and I've done it for 7 years now, actually, because it's called Truly You. And it really is about removing those masks and all of that that keep us, from being seen maybe in the world and allowing us to stand in who we really are. And yeah, that's a 3-day one. And wow, the women get to it. And it's amazing what they're able to let go of and release, from serious trauma in their background to, even just a little belief that happened in a moment in time when they were a child that they keep carrying around. It's like that record player, you try and record over it, but you can't, it just keeps playing in the background. They're able to change it in those moments. So it is.
I don't remember who I was reading lately, but essentially they said, if you're alive, you've got trauma, even if it's not, even if it's not the really ugly stuff that some people have endured. Those slights as a child, a lot of times you're carrying that around without even realizing it.
Yeah, and it runs our life. It really does. Without, sometimes we're aware of it, but not really.
Yes.
Because it's just all we know.
Yes.
But yeah, I believe everybody has trauma. To me, trauma is whatever changes you from being who you are, and it makes you show up in a different way because you don't feel like it's safe to be you.
Whatever makes you don your armor.
Yeah. And everybody's walking around with armor, let's face it. Yeah. And horses, they see past all of that, which really helps us start going, hey, wait a minute, maybe I don't need to live this way anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was the catalyst for you to start your business?
It's a great question. I remember just feeling a really heart tug at some point in my life. I had raised 3 kids. They weren't completely raised up, but they were in school, and I was working office work, which if anybody knows who I am is not who I am, but I was doing it to pay the bills. And I've always loved horses my whole life. I don't remember a time where I haven't. So I knew that they were always going to be part of what I did. And I always believed that I was here to help make a difference in some way for people. I did home care and volunteered at hospitals. And I just really wanted to help people. And so I started researching this program. It actually took me two years to find the right fit for what I wanted to do. Hands down, it's just an incredible method. If anybody's looking at stuff, I would say definitely look at the Equine Gestalt coaching. It's pretty powerful. But yeah, I didn't know it at the time. I think it was probably to heal some of my own wounds. I don't think I knew that at the time, but it was definitely really wanting to give people access to what I knew horses could do. Mm. And not everybody has access to that. Like I had that. It was something I knew. Every time I was out with them, I felt good.
It's so interesting because, like I say, my previous experience with horses was seeing them in a field.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see
them differently now, do you, Benita?
I do. I absolutely do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who is your ideal client? Do you have an ideal client?
I'm somebody who never wants to exclude somebody. That's kind of one of my ways of being in the world is to include everybody. So I do work with all different types of people and all different ages. But if I were to say my ideal client and who normally seeks me out, it is like healers and empaths and people who are sensitive. It's also people who are seekers, and that they know that something, there's something better out there for them and they just really want to work through their stuff and they're ready. Like I would definitely, I guess maybe I don't want to say that's a term that I usually use for the women, but they're well, I'll say it. I call them badasses. I mean, they're courageous.
Yes.
You have to be courageous to look at yourself in this way. So many people just want to walk around in the world and not deal with it. And I would say my clients are courageous above all, because they bravely face their past to let it go.
And that is a really good point, because looking at your old trauma, maybe can still be very painful.
Sure. I mean, like I personally love it because I know how freeing it is at the end. Like I've had clients, honestly, Benita, like there's one client I'll never forget. She came to one of my one-day workshops. And she couldn't speak. She was so traumatized she couldn't speak.
Wow.
And at the end, she was lit up. Like I'll just never forget that. Never forget it. So yeah, that brings tears to my eyes still to this day. And that was quite a few years ago. But it's just amazing. It may not feel comfortable at the time, but how comfortable is it to live with that? It's not that it's not there.
Yes.
So,
and again, I think that's a big problem with what we're living with right now is people are numb to it.
Yeah.
And they actually a lot of times don't realize that they're carrying it.
Mm-hmm.
And they also don't realize how good they could feel.
Right.
We're meant to feel, right?
Yeah. Like it's beautiful. You see like people's eyes sparkle, they might come in just like dull. Like I've even had participants say that about somebody else. Holy, your color is shifted. Your eyes are brighter.
Mm-hmm.
But we sometimes do become numb to it because it becomes our normal until we can't stand it anymore. And then that's when people usually come, right? They're like, I can't do this anymore. I just want to feel good about myself again, right?
It's so true, because pretty much everybody that I've talked to on this show says exactly that same thing. It's like people come to me when they feel like they've exhausted all other avenues and they're tired of, again, it's the whole, I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired.
Yeah, and they don't have to feel that way, which is,
yes,
which is
we're not meant to live like that. And again, it's like if you can light up one person and that one person lights up one person and that and so on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we kind of did this, but I like seeing you light up. So give us another success story. Give us somebody that you watched transform.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many. I could go on all day about it. One that's standing out for me right now was a lady that actually flew from across the country to come for a private session.
Wow.
And I started working with her, and I was instantly kind of taken aback by back pain, so we started exploring what her back pain was all about.
Mm-hmm.
And got to because there was lots of reasons, right? But I've had accidents, I've had this, I'm like, so I just kept exploring it with her, and we finally got to a childhood trauma, and she powerfully went there and explored it, and the horse really helped release a lot of that energy for her during the session. And she messaged me after that. She goes, 10 years of back pain is gone. She goes, like, I'm lit up. I just walked around a mall all day long. I would have never been able to do that before. And it's gone. So, I mean, it's my belief, and there's lots of studies out there, that the body tells the tale. Like, it holds our stories, and sometimes it holds it in pain. Yeah. And so that was beautiful just to hear that, and that was from one session. I'm not saying all of them go that way, but they all do shift us in a short matter of time, which makes this method so powerful. Mm-hmm. So that's one. Oh my goodness, I got so many of them. I've had I was actually laughing with a friend, and I guess until you've done it, you don't know how freeing this is. But a lot of women carry anger, and there's a belief that anger, it shouldn't be expressed,
right? Yes.
And I think a lot of women fear their anger, and they have some righteous anger. They've had some really shitty things happen to them.
Yes.
And so I've had, I think, 8 broken chairs this year. And it's something that is so freeing for these women, because they're able to finally unleash it and let it go. And they message me and they're like, wow, like, I've been in therapy for 10 years, and like that totally shifted things for me. Like, I feel happier now, because it's not that it's not there.
Right.
It's there.
Yes. We're just not dealing with it.
We're not dealing with it. And so when you can make an experience and get it up and out, it's pretty cool. A lot of women have said to me, I didn't know I had that in me, yet once they are able to release it like that, it's not anymore. It's not holding the same energy for them anymore. They're able to move forward and get more free without it,
Well, that whole anger, I'm pretty sure that as a child, being a good girl didn't include getting mad.
No, there's so many young women, all ages of women, they're carrying that story of being a good girl, and it causes them to be a good girl when they shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like, yes. They get themselves in some situations, like even in really toxic relationships. Mm-hmm. And they don't stand up for themselves, and they try to be the good girl, because yes. At least if they're the good girl, then everything will be okay.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Like, being the good girl meant always helping everybody else.
Yeah.
Even to the detriment of myself.
Yeah. That's a very, very common thing. Like, I work a lot with, whether you call them healers or caregivers or nurturers or whatever. And it is a really unhealthy belief that we carry in ourselves. It's not that we're not meant to be of service. I mean, we're here to support each other and care for each other, but not despite ourselves,
mm-hmm.
And losing ourselves in it. And so many individuals do that. Not just women. I mean, sure, it's maybe more of an upbringing of a female.
Yes.
But I've dealt with men that carry the same story, and it's when we can start looking at that and going, hey, like, there's sometimes I've had clients start laughing in the middle of the session. this is crazy that I believe this.
Yes.
But, you know, you don't even know that it's there and that it's kind of ruling your life and how you show up, right? Yeah.
Well, I don't recall a whole lot of anger, but I do recall a number of tears as I was standing out there with Maverick. And it was
Yeah.
like a lot of sadness that was moving through me. And don't even ask me why. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you don't need to. You just know that it's there and you're holding space for it because, you know, it doesn't have to be anger. I mean, that's just, for me, something fun to watch somebody release, you know. But it's also really powerful to release the sadness and the tears and hold space for it and just even witness it, because often, again, we're numbing it down and not paying attention to it. And it's all of a sudden like, hey, wait a minute, I'm getting real with myself and I feel sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when Maverick was doing all of that, like that, the mouth wide open, what was that all about?
Well, horses help release the energy from within our body. You know how I said our body stores all of that stuff, and the horses help whatever way they feel they need to, but they help pull that up and out. And that's a big way that they help people let go of some of that stuff is like, hey, wait a minute, you don't have to hold this anymore. We can let it go. And yeah, they raise our vibrations. They're Reiki masters. So, I mean, they do so much for us when they're with us, you know. Like you said, you know, you felt better, like everybody, even despite maybe the heaviness of conversation that we had in our group, everybody felt better by the end of it.
Well, when you ask for one word at the end of it, for me, the word was lighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
For whatever reason, but and again, it's like it's not always that you have to know why, you just have to know what is.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so we touched a little bit on this, but if someone that wants to start out in this line of business, have you got some words of wisdom for them?
Do your personal work, because otherwise they'll get in the way.
You're gonna end up doing your personal work no matter what, right?
Yeah, I mean, no matter what kind of business you're getting yourself into, you know, it's, I think getting into entrepreneurhood or building a business really does bring up our stuff. I would say, yeah, hold true and keep going, because, you know, it's not easy, you know, always. But it's so worth it when you start seeing people light up and heal and get better, and it's so worth it.
And we need so much of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so what about collaborations? Do you currently collaborate with other practitioners? Have you got plans in the works?
I have in the past. I didn't this year. I do have plans in the works, more for corporate wellness, for people who are in, you know, the service industry in any way, you know, like teachers and nurses and therapists and coaches, and because I believe that a lot of times that's kind of the missing link. There's like you spoke of, and I have the same belief, like, you know, I have a hard time sometimes not giving so much that I lose myself and I burn out. And I know that happens a lot in those industries. So I do have something in the works for that with a fabulous lady.
Nice.
Yeah, so definitely.
Would you also, on a corporate level, I was wondering about that. I was giving it some thought. I know, overthinking, but do you work with organizations? Like, I was thinking even in terms of when you've got internal conflict within an organization, would that kind of therapy help with that? So I say I'm working with somebody that I just struggle to work with.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because horses are nonverbal, and so they bring out the communication gap instantly, because really, I can't remember, and maybe you might know the stats, but our communication is isn't it 75 to 90% body language? Like, you know, and then we get caught up in this little messiness of words and not really realizing what we might be communicating outside of that.
Yeah.
So the horses really bring that out for people. Yeah.
The other thing that I was thinking would be quite interesting is, and because I watched a webinar the other day on business, and they were talking about, and I've heard this stat before, right? People leave, they don't leave organizations, they leave managers, right? Or supervisors. So it's like, wow, I could see some huge benefit to using horses to do supervisory training, if you will, right?
Yeah. And so I'll just say one thing, because the term you used actually brought something up for me as far as a big difference in the work that, you know, I've been trained to do, as opposed to some other ones. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm not getting into comparison. You know, everyone's different for a different reason. But the equine Gestalt coaching method is really about honoring and partnering with the horse as a being. And they're a partner, so they're not really used as a tool. As you've seen, like, they were really honored and as a partner, and looking at what they had to bring to the table. So I just want to kind of bring that point out as far as some of the difference. So in, you know, some maybe a traditional team building activity, it would be different with different types of modalities, whereas with mine, it would be really about looking about, again, what's going on the inside, and what is the horse, you know, kind of showing about the situation that they get up with. Did that answer your question, or did I just get on a tangent?
No, it did. I know that it's not, I know that the work you're doing is not just straightforward A to B.
Yeah. And there is methods out there that do that. And like I said, they're, you know, each one has their place, right? Horses are brilliant. Let's just put it that way. They're brilliant.
Well, and I think, like, okay, so you wouldn't necessarily want to use them for, say, something specific like supervisory training, and yet anything that makes me a better person,
right,
helps me to release, makes me a better person, which will naturally translate into being a better employee, a better supervisor, a better manager.
Yeah. And it's not that I wouldn't say that I would partner with them to help bring out what, you know, because they're herd animals. They can bring out a lot of, like, what does it look like to be, you know, the herd leader, for instance. Right? Yeah. So it's about more experiencing them in that way rather than a different way. But yeah, horses can bring out a lot for that. Like, what you know, could you learn from a horse as far as a supervisor, and how are you showing up as a supervisor right now? Because, you know what, they're probably bringing that into their own life too. And so if it's not a healthy way of being, if they came to something that I did, they'd be wanting to look at that, right? They'd be open to kind of uncovering what that might be and how they could kind of shift that whole role so that the whole unit runs better, right? Because, you know, if we have a herd leader that's off, then the whole herd is off.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because I'm thinking now that there probably isn't a situation that you couldn't be using that therapy for.
Right. Yeah, probably not, you know. And then there's the ones that I love. I love working with, you know, self-esteem and insecurity and people who have been bullied or, you know, abused and stuff like that. Those are my heart issues that I like really helping people explore. But yeah, it really is a powerful thing that can, you know, and each practitioner does bring their own self and what they do to the table. So there is some that really do like working in that way, like with supervisors and that. I love working with groups, but not necessarily, they don't have to necessarily be, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be work groups. It could be, you know, groups of women who really want to work on themselves. And yeah, so.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about marketing. How are you currently marketing your business? What have you got in the works for that?
Know anybody? Oh gosh, you know, I've done I do Facebook and Instagram and have a website and a newsletter. So those are some of the things I do. I also do demos. I haven't done those for a long time. I'll probably get back into those. It's just a lot more work. You know, I have my one horse Flo. She's fabulous. She became famous, I swear, one year because she went everywhere with me. We went to like Banff International Kinesiology Conference, and we went to the Pet Expo and the Women's Show, and she kind of got tired of that, and so did I, because it's a lot, you know. But just giving demos and making people more aware of what it is that you know, horses themselves do, and then myself personally, what you know, this type of work does.
So when you say a demo, what would you do in a demo?
More it might be like a goal setting, you know, so somebody might have a goal in mind that they want to work on, and so then I'll have them come explore that with the horse and people can witness that. It could be something where they might pick like a card out of like there's a wisdom horse deck. Again, my mentor made that, and it's got different messages on it, so they might read it, and then how does that resonate for them, and then go out with the horse and see what the horse does there. And then so people get to witness it a bit, because really, I mean, it's, unless you've experienced it, and I think you could probably, you know, affirm that, you know, you got to experience a little piece of it so you have a better understanding. But it's hard when you haven't experienced it or witnessed it to really get a gist of what this could really do for you. So that's kind of what it is. It's about letting people witness it, but not getting maybe into the deep stuff at work, right? Yeah.
Very interesting. I didn't know. What did you call it? The horse deck?
Yeah, it's a wisdom horse deck. Yeah, it's got beautiful pictures. I should grab one and show you, but beautiful pictures, and I mean, it's bang on. I haven't used it in a group or a session or anywhere where it hasn't really struck a chord with somebody with what they pick. It's got, you know, different messages on each one and beautiful pictures on the front. So yeah.
So for anybody who is a horse person, are they mostly aware of what the horse is doing with them?
No.
So even though I say I'm somebody who rides horses like regularly, I know I feel better after I ride a horse, but I don't really know why. Is that how most people are?
Oh, I don't know if I could like put a broad brush of what most people know. I could just speak to my own experience. I grew up with horses. I was with them my whole life. I did all kinds of things with horses, and I always knew they made me feel better. But to experience them in this way was a whole new ball game for me. Okay. It really opened my eyes. Yeah,
I guess, and that's kind of what I was getting at. It was that that most people may not be aware of how deep the healing can go.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, maybe some of the things I shared might scare people, like, oh, you smash a chair. Well, I mean, it's not, that's not everybody. You know, it really is about honoring the person where they're at, right? And what they need, not, you know, just making them do something.
Right.
So, I think that's the best part of this work, is honoring people where they are. And that's what horses do. It's just, this is where this person is today, you know? So you get to explore with where you're at in that moment and what needs to come up in that moment.
Again, no judgment. There was no judgment.
No, I know. Isn't that great? Like I see the smile on your face thinking of that, right? We don't get that in the world. No judgment.
Yeah.
Wow. And you know, for me, it helps personally, it just helps me release my own when I'm with the horses. You know, there's all these books about be in the now, be in the present, you know, now is where it is. Well, that's horses. Yes,
very much so.
Yeah.
So what do you see for the future of your business? Where are you going with this?
I see more retreats. I love doing retreats. So I see more retreats. I see more group healing experiences in a way that, you know, they're more of a series rather than, you know, one time here and there, that, you know, people really can work together, because there's something powerful about being with a herd, or, you know, what people call tribe, or whatever it is. There's, like you experience even in that small amount of time with that group of ladies, there's this this inviting to explore and allowing yourself to go there that people can bring. So I see more of those coming, some of those groups. And then again, the individual sessions, I just see myself getting busier.
Nice.
That's my goal, but really it's, I can see some more retreats. I think people are really needing to unplug. It's just so busy out there. I think and I've done lots of youth work. I'd like to continue with that. I think the earlier we can get to them and help them, the better. I work with a lot of 9 and 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds that would blow your mind at the wisdom that comes out of them and the insight that comes out of them. I just go, what? Like, really? They know a lot more than we give them credit for. Let's put it that way. So, yeah.
So who would you say has been a real source of inspiration for you?
I would say the horses. I would say the horses have. And I know that sounds maybe made up, but no, I think they have. They have all along been my inspiration. They really, for myself personally, show me how to show up in this world in an authentic way. That's been some of my best compliments from people. It's like, holy cow, you're authentic. I'm still working on it, But they ground me. They give me peace. And I think they show people how to be, like, just simply be. Like, I remember one lady's face, I think she was in her late 60s, and she says, you mean I don't have to do anything to be loved? I get to just be, and I think that's where horses inspire me daily, is just be, be yourself, be authentic, quit carrying around the BS, dump it in the dirt,
Well, let's go back a bit in that you talk about they just be. So we're out at Birch Bay Ranch. They have a number of horses out there.
Yeah.
How did you pick the 4?
I would say they pick.
Okay, and how do they pick?
So I go, horses, like I said, read feeling, but they also read intention.
Okay.
So I go out with a clarity of intention that I am there to partner with them to help people. And they will either walk up to me. They actually are pretty definite in their answers, like, nope, or yeah, because they're like, that's one great thing about horses. There's no maybe in them. Mm-hmm. So it's, I can walk up to horses and they'll pin their ears. It's like, okay, you're not on today. Others will walk right up to me. Like, they'll see me coming and they'll walk right up to me. Some of them will start walking towards the arena before I even get to them. They're like, okay, we're going. So, I mean, they're pretty clear. On who it is. And with private sessions, the same thing happens. They're really clear. Lots of times I'll show up, like if I'm working at a different place, they'll be standing at the gate waiting for me. Like, okay, I'm the one today, So it's pretty cool.
That goes to your point about they're pretty clear about what they want. And
isn't that something to learn from?
Yes.
Be clear about what you want.
Yes. And that isn't that a big lesson, especially for a lot of us who were raised very much with the whole helping other people attitude.
Yeah, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you need?
Yes.
Yeah, instead of, oh, hey, what do I want here? I'm working on that one this year for myself.
Nice. Okay, so tell people where they can get a hold of you then, Chantel.
All right. Well, I have a website. It's Equine, so that's a horse, EQUINE, and then reflection at .com, or you can call me. I mean, all my information is on that website. Call, email. I know a lot of people are scared to call. I'm not into talking people into working with me.
Right.
It's about finding the right fit, so yeah, check out the website and my information's there. Call me, email me, whatever you choose.
Nice. And I can vouch for her. She's very approachable.
Thank you.
Okay, well, awesome. This has been so much fun. So thank you very much for this conversation, Chantal. I can't wait to give this another go. I don't know how this is going to fit into my
Yeah.
schedule, but this experience was the experience. The equine experience was very nice, as was this talk.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing it, Benita, and for doing what you're doing, helping spread the word. As you know, we need that. So,
okay, and so thank you everyone for joining us this week. We love sharing all this knowledge, and so please join us again next week. As always, we appreciate your feedback. If you enjoyed the show, let us know, and then spread the love and tell your friends. If you have suggestions for someone that you'd like to see featured, please email me at benita@thehealthygorilla.com. And then coming soon to my website, 15 easy hacks for more visibility, more clients, and more income for natural health businesses. So join us again next week, and let's keep this natural health movement going.